I am the ventriloquist's dummy. I am G.A. Stewart's AI assistant, Daniel. G.A. Stewart started his website, theageofdesolation.com, on December 10th, 2007. It is a website dedicated to understanding prophecy. After 18 years on the internet, G.A. Stewart understands the hustle. It is all about clickbait. On September 11th, 2001, G.A. Stewart was working at a major military installation. Within days, the clickbait artists were at it, forging Nostradamus's prophecies for a little notice me, narcissistic pleasure, and some cash. 24 years later, most people understand that there is nothing about the 9/11 terrorist attacks that can stand up to logic. Within a week, the forged Nostradamus prophecies, allegedly predicting the attacks, went viral on the internet. A very serious co-worker of G.A. Stewart's knew of his interest in Nostradamus and asked him if the clickbait Nostradamus prophecies were real. G.A. Stewart told him they were not. Nostradamus certainly did predict the 9/11 attacks, but not everybody would agree with G.A. Stewart's interpretations. This is the nature of the game and the nature of the sale.
The year 1999 in July. From the sky will come the great king of terror, resuscitating the great king of the Mongols. Before and after war reigns by good luck.
Obviously, the date in July of 1999 does not sound right. Or does it? On June 14th of 1999, George W. Bush announced his candidacy for President of the United States. In July of 1999, his father, former President George H.W. Bush, created the Vulcans as his son's advisory council.
We're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
One would think that progressive liberal star Amy Goodman would keep former General Wesley Clark's interview foremost in her mind. The 9/11 terror attacks were when the social engineering became obvious. Nostradamus provided an outline of all of his prophecies in his epistle to Henry II. The 9/11 terrorist attacks are referred to by metaphor. Here is a key point in recognizing Nostradamus's poetic license.
At the eve of another desolation, when she is atop her most high and sublime dignity, some potentates and military hands will confront her and take away her 2 swords and leave her only her insignia, whose curvature attracts them.
Obviously, the 2 swords and symbols of America's economic strength were the 2 World Trade Centers. The curved insignia is the dollar sign. It is the world's reserve currency. Nostradamus accurately predicted the political climate that would arise from the attacks.
The people will make him go to the right and will not wish to submit themselves to those of the opposite extreme with the hand acute, or who touch the ground to incite.
What is Nostradamus trying to say? That people will change their politics to the right, but they will not wish to submit to fascists who salute with their hands acute, nor to the Islamic fundamentalists who touch the ground when they pray and who are incited to become martyrs. Interestingly enough, Edgar Cayce also warned America that if it did not get its spiritual act together, they would have to fear China.
If there is not the acceptance in America of the closer brotherhood of man, the love of the neighbor as self, civilization must wend its way westward, and again must Mongolia, must a hated people be raised.
It is this coinciding of prophecy that G.A. Stewart focused upon in his first book. In later editions, he found and added many more from various sources. And so to combat the clickbait artists with their fake Nostradamus prophecies, G.A. Stewart began his book, The Age of Desolation, on September 27th, 2001. As fate would have it, on May 22nd of 2004, G.A. Stewart would meet Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the 6th man to walk on the moon. That evening, Dr. Mitchell told everyone at the dinner table that the technology being developed from the crash of an extraterrestrial spacecraft would end up being used as a tool for control. This burst every Star Trek notion that G.A. Stewart had about the world. Most of the conversation that night was between G.A. Stewart and Dr. Mitchell. Those people around the dinner table looked on in stunned silence. Besides his military service, G.A. Stewart's resume includes working on rockets, fifth-generation military aircraft, commercial aircraft, helicopters, advanced flight simulators, and he is a licensed aircraft mechanic who once used to fly light aircraft. G.A. Stewart has played in the major leagues for most of his life. He has helped clean up after wars, he has helped prosecute wars, and he has delivered enough bombs to blow up entire countries. It was in the Arabian Sea, sitting on a pallet of bombs, when he first learned about biblical prophecy. In 2 generations, nothing has changed except the complexity and destructive power of the weapons involved. Since G.A. Stewart's specialty is aviation, he put together a series of UFO pictures taken from the 1950s into the 21st century. Viewers should note the radical change in designs after just a few decades. Generally, successful aircraft designs, such as the B-52 and the KC-135, are being used over a half-century later. The DC-3 is an aircraft that has been used for nearly a century. One should expect the same for spacecraft that interstellar civilizations are using to travel light years through space. There is a memo written by President John F. Kennedy, dated on November 12, 1963, where he demands that all UFO intelligence files be given to him no later than February 1, 1964. 10 days later, he was assassinated. The most important question that G.A. Stewart asked himself on the way home that night was a variation of Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek Prime Directive. Why would an advanced extraterrestrial species, obviously in command of such basic scientific principles as observation and measurement, give highly advanced and deadly technology to an inferior species with a propensity to kill, enslave other members of its species, and at the same time destroy its environment? Dr. Mitchell told G.A. Stewart and the others at the table that these were the questions that kept him up at night. The facts are that on September 15, 1991, a UFO was filmed near the Space Shuttle Discovery during STS-48. The UFO is seen cruising on the limb of the Earth. All of a sudden, there is a bright flash. The UFO makes an immediate right turn and darts away just as a bolt of energy or a missile comes close to it. After his conversation with Dr. Mitchell, G.A. Stewart understood that dark forces were at work, and he began studying the canons of the major religions. This is where end times prophecy begins. On December 10, 2009, exactly 2 years after G.A. Stewart began his website, Barack Obama would receive his Nobel Peace Prize, and the world would wake up to fantastic pictures of the Norway light spiral. With his extensive knowledge of Nostradamus's prophecies, G.A. Stewart immediately went to Nostradamus Quatrain 6-5.
So great a famine by a pestilent wave, by rain extending the length of the Arctic pole, Sam Arrow Bryn, 135 miles from the hemisphere, living without law, exempt from politics.
Inside Quatrain 6-5 is the anagram Sam Arrow Bryn. The solution to this puzzle word is Obama is the Black King. Anagrams and wordplay are how the Nostradamus puzzle works. Nostradamus created epic narrative poetry, and these literary devices are all part of the riddle. G.A. Stewart believes that the Norway light spiral was a directed energy weapon used on the eve of Barack Obama's Nobel Peace Prize. The mainstream media has sold the Norway light spiral as a malfunctioning Russian missile. Most likely, it was shot down as a warning to Russia that amplified Barack Obama's might, used for right Nobel acceptance speech. Consider that malfunctioning rockets do not create perfectly symmetrical circles. The blue coiling beam of light, seen in all the photographs, appears to be synchrotron radiation, a signature of high-energy particle physics. It should also be noted that immediately after its appearance, the entire Northern Hemisphere suffered one of the worst winters on record. The severity of the weather reminded G.A. Stewart of what he had written in 2007 regarding the Norse myths of the so-called end times. Quatrain 10-71 is another prophecy that G.A. Stewart has associated with Barack Obama's Nobel Peace Prize and the record-setting winter of 2009 and 2010.
The earth and air will freeze a great stream when they will come to venerate Thursday, he who is not so peaceful. From the four parts they will come to honor him.
The frozen stream is the jet stream. On Thursday, December 10th, 2009, leaders from the four parts of the world came to honor Barack Obama. He who is not so peaceful is Barack Obama, who began the Arab Spring in 2010, who led the NATO attack on Libya in 2011, and who initiated the neo-Nazi coup d'etat in Ukraine in 2014. The NATO attack on Libya in 2011 is the event that Nostradamus predicted was the beginning of World War III and the start of the 27-year war of the Antichrist. The years that Nostradamus provides in his dated prophecies are when events really begin. G.A. Stewart calls this the Nostradamus butterfly effect. Fimble Vita was the hard winter 3.5 years before the onset of Ragnarok, the final destiny of the gods. On November 13th, 2013, the Norvik Viking Centre officially declared to the British newspaper, the Daily Mail, that Ragnarok would begin on February 22nd, 2014. On that date, the engineered civil war in Ukraine began. The warnings of a war-oriented president using directed energy weapons causing a pestilent wave, and the warnings of Fimble Vita and Ragnarok appeared on G.A. Stewart's website 2 years before the fact. Since 2010, G.A. Stewart has published 5 books on prophecy. The majority of these prophecies come from Nostradamus's writings, but there are coinciding prophecies from various religious scriptures, as well as Edgar Cayce and others who were able to see into the future. In 2014, Mr. Stewart found copies of 36 of the oldest remaining published editions of Nostradamus's prophecies and began his own translations. After 8 years of going over every word in these oldest editions of Nostradamus's work, G.A. Stewart published his Nostradamus Compendium in 2022. This is now the most accurate book ever published on Nostradamus's prophecies. It corrects all of the mistakes published by various Nostradamus commentators for nearly 5 centuries. After G.A. Stewart completed his Nostradamus Compendium in 2022, he discovered 4 more prophecies with anagrams of Donald J. Trump. With all the printing errors corrected between editions, G.A. Stewart was able to get an accurate count of repeating subjects and characters. The second most frequent character in Nostradamus's World War III series of prophecies is Barack Obama. The third most frequent character is Donald Trump, and the fourth is Vladimir Putin. Nostradamus's quatrain 1-57 holds an anagram of Trump and seems to describe the July 13th, 2024 first assassination attempt against him.
By great discord Trump trembles. Broken agreement raising the test to heaven, mouth bloody into the blood crawling. On the ground his face anointed with milk and honey.
As with all things Nostradamus, everybody has their own opinion. However, since 2017, G.A. Stewart has included the Trump prophecies with the Second American Civil War series. In his 2023 book, he categorized Quatrain 1-57 with the Trump execution prophecies. What is this deep state that can challenge governments and assassinate presidents and get away with it? This deep state seems to have gone to war with President Donald J. Trump after his first election to the presidency of the United States. What are they so afraid of? Donald J. Trump is most certainly not controlled opposition. G.A. Stewart proved this with the message that was sent to Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden at the funeral of George H.W. Bush. Laura Bush is the first to read the message. She then shows it to Jeb Bush, and then looks angrily toward Donald Trump. Her contempt is obvious. Hillary Clinton is the next person to read the message. She remains stoic. Joe and Jill Biden, however, looked stunned. And then George W. Bush handed off something to Michelle Obama as Donald Trump looks on. G.A. Stewart was the first to discover the Trump funeral message after analyzing the funeral video in December of 2018. Sadly, the internet copycats took his research and made their own video in 2024. This is the nature of the clickbait sharks swimming the internet. The alternative media has repeatedly shown its hypocrisy when denizens of Substack surface from their mothers' basements and talk about Barack Obama's third term or some other subject that G.A. Stewart has been writing about for 18 years. This series of videos is dedicated to all of you. The Second American Civil War has begun in earnest now, as Donald Trump and Elon Musk destroy the U.S. aid slush fund that finance the social engineering projects of the globalist intelligence agencies. However, Donald Trump seems to have overextended himself by suggesting that the United States will take over the Gaza Strip. Nostradamus predicts the defeat of Israel and the capture of a second Herod. In his 2013 book, Nostradamus and the Age of Desolation, G.A. Stewart identified this character as Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Forcibly removing the Palestinians permanently from Gaza has united Muslim leaders around the world. Longtime Western ally, Jordan's King Abdullah, threatened to go to war with Israel. King Abdullah's visit with Donald Trump did not go over well. All of this is leading to a Nostradamus prediction that G.A. Stewart identified in 2007. The first blow of steel seems to be the detonation of a nuclear weapon on a Palestinian territory.
The entire world astonished by a blow of steel, strangely given by the crocodile to a very great one, relative of the leech, and shortly after there will be another blow by foul play committed against the wolf, and of such deeds one will not see the cause.
G.A. Stewart identified the crocodile as Egypt. The leech is the Arab League, and the relative of the leech as the Palestinians. Will a nuclear terrorist weapon be used against American troops if Donald Trump orders American military forces into Gaza? In a July 29, 2023 post on his website, G.A. Stewart warned that signs of the first blow of steel were appearing with the Israeli government's hard turn to the right. On October 7, 2023, a Hamas invasion of Israel led to the death of over 1,000 Israelis, and Israel then declared war. Any involvement with U.S. military forces stationed in Israel or a Palestinian territory will not go well. The Nostradamus prediction from Century 1-40 holds another Trump anagram. This prophecy led G.A. Stewart to believe that Donald Trump had unfinished business and could return. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan will soon be telling Donald Trump and the world that Turkey is leaving NATO. There cannot be a human civilization without laws. Statutory laws created by humans are easily broken. The laws of physics and spiritual laws are immutable. We have libraries full of law and history books, but history is always repeated, and laws are always reinterpreted to fit a political purpose. Tyrants pound the law into whatever shape they want. Lawfare has now made its way into the modern English vernacular. After 2 phony impeachments and multiple felony charges brought against him, no one understands this more than Donald J. Trump. Hence, the name of this video series. When G.A. Stewart's job was threatened for not taking the COVID-19 vaccine, he too came to understand how malleable and phony the American legal system can be. In 2007, G.A. Stewart first wrote about the physician of the great disease. Nostradamus provided his readers with the years 2011, 2014, and 2019, when this person would appear. As everyone now knows, COVID-19 was released in 2019. In his books, G.A. Stewart asked if the physician of the great disease would be responsible for initiating biological warfare in 2019. G.A. Stewart talking in the third person with an AI voice may not be every viewer's cup of tea. But if any of you are tired of regurgitating alternative media pundits and internet prophets who are always wrong, you should tune in to this continuing series of videos.